think we're all really the same, aren't we, when you think about it? Because I don't know if you ever do this, but you know when you see a TV program or a film and you think, what inspired that? You know, what made somebody think that was a good idea? You know, the sort of thing. And it can be a very simple format, can't it, on a TV show that suddenly gets us all to watch. I mean, I remember way back in the 80s, I think it was, Delia Smith was teaching us how to boil an egg. And you kind of think, oh, watch that. Millions did. This is the thing, isn't it? You just never know what really takes off within the public eye. And so what got me really, fascinated in effect was exactly how this particular hit show was all inspired by a senior member of the British monarchy. And it was simply just a fluke remark that set off this particular format. Let me explain. Good to see you. Thank you. So, are you all right? Sorry, I'm having a wave today. Are you all right? Nice to have your company as ever. I know, whatever your favourite shows, I know we talk a lot about this, but it can be things like, Are You Being Served? And we all know that was inspired by Jeremy Lloyd's time of working in a big department store just off Regent Street. And then he sort of looked at the characters and thought, oh, they'll work in comedy value. But it's other things, isn't it? The shows that you kind of think, well, why? Like the Great British Bake Off is still very popular over here. And yet really all it is people making cakes in a tent and then being judged. Now, I'm sure the Women's Institute have been doing that for years. So why didn't they come up with the idea and make lots of money and get TV production deals and books and spin-offs? And what I mean? It's just odd, isn't it? But this particular story came to me from the former British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable David Cameron, who I was interviewing. I've interviewed him on a number of occasions, but he came into the studio and I was chatting away to him about what it was like, when Queen Elizabeth came over to Downing Street. I said, it must be quite nerve-wracking. I think everything must be spit and polished and everything. And he said, no, really down to earth, just very, very easygoing lady to talk to. Always very pleasant, remember people's names, interested in things. He said that was a big thing. She was interested in everything that was presented to her. But this particular episode, as he said, he was sort of taken around looking at all the famous portraits, the ones now that the current British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has decided to remove, like the likes of Elizabeth I, and of course the former British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Margaret Thatcher. And he pointed out this particular picture, he said, on the staircase. And he said, oh, this is, an original Van Dyke. And she said, oh, right. Oh, no, she said, Mr. Cameron, that can't be. And he said, oh, no, it is. And she said, no, I have the original in Windsor Castle. And apparently this started an absolute flurry behind the scenes of, really? Or would the Queen have a fake? Could it possibly be that she's got the fake and Downing Street have got the real? Anyway, it turns out, as ever, she was correct. And this was the catalyst of what is now a big hit BBC TV show called Fake or Fortune. Simply because it's all about whether, the fakes have now infiltrated and people have bought them and then thinking they've got something that's worth millions, thousands, whatever, and then suddenly finding out actually it's an exact copy. And according to David Cameron, they had a bit of a laugh about this because she said, oh, I didn't realise. And he said, yeah, well, you do realise they're going to make a programme now based on that conversation. And I just kind of thought, it's a funny thing, isn't it? What makes something take off? And more importantly, as I say, a throwaway remark. And I did ask, well, what happened to the Van Dyke? And he said, still up there. He said, it's a talking point now, all thanks to the Queen. You see how things start and how things very quickly escalate and suddenly become incredibly successful. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.